And good morning,
Good
everybody.
afternoon.
Good afternoon and good evening, because I
Evening.
know there's some of you in different time zones. I'm going to do a little mute all right now because I hear someone in the background. Let's see. How do I do mute all? Mute all. If you have a question, you know how to unmute yourself. So this is day 2 of season 1, episode 4. I had to think about that. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 3 was yesterday, today, episode 4 of our virtual holiday music camp. And I think before I do any talking, I'm going to play a song. I think I'll play what I'm going to feature today. So hopefully you got your music and we'll have some fun. You have your pens and pencils. You're going to want to take some notes today. All right. And I'll do this. I'll play off to the side. I'm going to stand up and play off to the side when I change the camera views for you guys here. So here we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. All right, hopefully that sounded okay out there. I have the volume set so it's not too loud in here, it's not too loud there, so I might adjust it from time to time. But anyway, so we have 2 songs we're featuring. If you printed out the music, what I want you to do is to make sure to get the handout. You're going to want to take some notes. You obviously have the handout that looks like this. Where is it? Do I have the right one on the screen there? All right, so you have 2 handouts here. Now here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Even if you do not have one of the organs listed that's on the screen, take notes. I want everybody to take notes on both of these, and you'll see why in a little bit. All right? Because the first page is going to be, here's some general simple setup sounds to use that you do. And then as I get to the second page, I'm going to add some, it's going to be very similar, but there's going to be some added stuff for those that have the larger instrument. So, but even if you have a larger instrument, you're going to want to put some notes on the first page. All right. So, but before we get to the notes, take your music out, and I want you to do this. Let's see if I get the right one here. Okay. Let me minimize this. I don't know why that silver bells is still out. All right, so you see the Winter Wonderland up there? Mike Bowler, I see you. Do you see the Winter Wonderland? A thumbs up? Okay. So you'll notice that on my music, and a lot of times I don't type out everything in advance for a couple of reasons. Because a lot of times it changes in the last minute. And the other reason is it gives you a chance to take notes and do things. But really, I'll admit, it's because a lot of times it changes in the last minute. This morning while having coffee, I made a lot of changes to my notes. So I'm glad I didn't give those out. In fact, this is what I did this morning. Now, many of you know, if you've come to my Song of the Month classes, I usually make presets and I say put A1 here, A2 and all this stuff. You'll notice I don't have any numbers on here for a reason. All right? So if you look on the screen, you'll see I put a little asterisk there and circled it. Now, you don't have to put a circle. Just put a notation, an asterisk or something. Make it big enough so you can see it on your music. There's a reason why. I'm going to give you setups today, but I'm not going to give you a number and an order, and you'll see why. It's pretty, I think, pretty clever. All right, so there's the first one. On Winter Wonderland, the very first page, just put a little star asterisk. Just, you could put a big circle, whatever you want. I don't care. All right, put a smiley face. Just something that says notation. Now I'm going to go to the next page here. And on the second page, whoops, let me zoom in there. Somewhere right around in that spot there, a little bit before, but there is no exact placement of that. Just put another asterisk there. All right. There are 6 places you're going to do this. So on Winter Wonderland, the first place is in the very beginning. The second place is on the second page, right there by that A chord. All right, and if you go to page 3, down, see where that G minor and that C7th is? On the third page of Winter Wonderland, you see it there? The words start off with town and then later on. Right around that the 2/8 notes of the CC, just put another asterisk there. All right. And let's see. Fourth page, no asterisks. All right. So there's 3 spots in the Winter Wonderland that I told you to kind of notate. All right. Now let's go to Santa Claus is Coming to Town. In the very beginning, and I'll leave it up on the screen there so you could all see it. All right. Now, the very beginning, and then at the bottom of the first page, you're still on the first page at this point. Put another asterisk right there. Don't miss it. I almost did it on the second page, but when I was thinking about it, no, that's not right. It's got to be right there before the second page. Okay? And then on the last page, go down 1, 2, 3 lines, second measure. So you see the D chord, the G chord, and it says, oh, actually it can kind of be in between, somewhere around in that area. There's no exact spot, but right around in there, somewhere in that measure. Just put a little notation there. Now, here's what I would encourage. You've notated it, marked it. When you get home, take a highlighter and highlight that spot so it stands out. All of those represent the places that I think would be ideal to make a sound change. Okay? And if you caught what Joe was doing yesterday, he was talking about changing the sound, and then also Joni. They were all making sound changes and things like that. Okay? So those represent, now I could have picked a bunch of other places, but I didn't want to get overzealous here with too many sound changes. So we're 3 in one song and 3 in the other. Now, for those of you who are newer to the hobby, at the last minute this morning, while I was on my second cup of coffee, you don't have to worry about this now, but ultimately you're going to get it when you get your USB. And when I send the email out with the notes, they're going to be updated. There's going to be some stuff that's already filled out for you. I'm going to also attach a beginner's version of Winter Wonderland. Okay, now let me go back to the beginning of Winter Wonderland. Look at all those chords. See that F, the B flat, the A minor, the D, and the G minor? I realized as I was playing the song, I don't play all of those chords. And I started to play it when I was learning the song, or when I was recording the song. I was playing those chords, but I wasn't used to doing it, so I just played it the way I normally do. And then I thought, what if someone's newer to the hobby? How are they going to feel trying to play these chords? So you're going to have the original music like you see, and then the attachment when I send it out this weekend, it'll probably be Sunday. You're going to notice that I gave a beginner's version, and you'll see a lot of chords are eliminated. Check that out. And you know what? That's how I played it today. And it sounded okay. Now I got a bunch of heads nodding here going, yeah, that's all right. Okay, so you'll see there's some chords I just could not get rid of, but you'll see that all of those chords right in here I took out. I covered up. All right? So you'll have both versions is my point. So I'll stick to this for now just for the sake of the changes are in the same places. All right? So let me come back to the screen here. And let me just say a few things. So on your handout that you have that's blank, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to give you some information. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm going to say it. I'm going to give you some basic sound changes that I used when I played the song. Now, here's the cool thing about these two songs. What song did I play first today?
Winter Wonderland.
Winter Wonderland. You guys said the same thing. Good answer. Okay? And the second one was Santa Claus is Coming to Town. When you hear the recording that I did on the USB when you get it, I did it the opposite way. Purposely. Because the setups I'm giving you, and the reason why I didn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is because basically any setup you use, if you just change the sound at that spot, it's going to work no matter what. So you don't have to get caught up in it's got to be this way. You can say, well, maybe the 6th setting I want to use in the middle of the song, or maybe the 3rd setting I want to. You can do the sound change any way you want. I'm going to give you 6 in the order that I did it, but I also wanted to teach it in the way that if you decided the first sound was piano and the second one was guitar, maybe you want to flip-flop the two and start off with a guitar instead and then the piano, or vice versa. It's totally up to you. Okay? So let's come up with some basic setups here, and then I'm going to put the camera on the organs and then bounce back and forth a little bit. So, see if I get the right screen up here. Yes. I'll get to that. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I had a question here, and I don't want you to hear it because I want you to hold the thought too before you're thinking about it out there in virtual land. Okay, so the first thing was already typed for you. If you got the last printout I gave, You guys should have this, but it's blank, and red is what you're going to fill in. Now, ultimately, I'm going to tell you again, ultimately, my goal is on Sunday to send you the email with all the last version of the handouts. Don't print them all out because there's only going to be a couple changes, okay? But I'm also going to send links to all of the classes that we recorded. My goal is to do that Sunday morning, so you'll have it in your inbox and you can go back and watch it anytime you like. Save the email, don't delete it. All right? So I put on here for the smaller models, and you're going to find that the style that I chose, I purposely chose that will work on virtually any organ out there. Every Lowry Easy series model, you'll see there, it says standards full band, which is also known as the Franken the Count style. Okay? On all of the models above, on the high-end models, Franken the Count is actually what it's called. It doesn't show up that way on some of the Easy series. On the Easy 10 it does, and the 4 it may not say it, or the 2. But when you put that style on, that's what it gets. That's what you get. All right, now the Estes do not have a Franken the Count rhythm style. So what I did is I put the alternatives. It's called standards, and it's also known as swing time. If you're on the Freedom 3, I know there's a few of you out there that have the Freedom 3. You want to push the standards button and then the style 2 group, and you could either use swing time or the big band style, and then the tempo is at 115. I wanted to pick, you could actually, I've heard it played very fast, I've heard play super upbeat. I wanted to pick a tempo that most people can kind of just really enjoy and play, and it's easy to play and nothing too slow. So it's not too slow and it's not fast, it's just half fast. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that was bad. No. Hi. Okay. So those are the style choices depending on the model. And if you have some of those, now, you know what? If you have a symphony organ or Royale or one of those organs, if you put on the big band button category, there's so many other choices you can use with it. Swing band, Chicago swing, there's any of them, okay? But just keep the tempo in mind. So you can get creative if you want, but this is what I use today. Now for the first setup, where do I play this setup? Anywhere you want, but this is the order that I played it in. The featured sound is the piano. Okay? The second setup, the featured sound is, it says trumpet or jazz guitar, but what I really used was, actually I think I did both, but pick one. You could go to guitar, okay? These are just basic, good sound choices. And then the third setup, I went back to the piano. So, let me stop right there. Piano, guitar, piano. Piano, guitar, piano. Remember that. So as I was playing, they're located on the orchestral sounds. Okay, yeah, you just, no, I have my own setups, but all I did, okay, so the question was, I got to remember, they can't hear. So the question was where to find the piano, the guitar. Well, the piano that I used was the piano that basically every organ has on the dash. So over here on this Easy series, there's a piano button. So that's the one I used. Over here, I used the Genius and then the piano. Here, it says piano. I just used a standard piano. I didn't go in and look in and find a Bright piano or the Society piano. I just chose piano. Again, I wanted to keep it simple, all right? So the first setup And I like to hear from you virtual people out there. What was the first sound? You can say, they won't hear you anyway. What was the first sound?
Piano.
All right, thank you. Because I can't go back and screen share and look at my notes. So I'm counting on you. All right, the second sound was
Jazz.
jazz guitar
Guitar.
or trumpet. All right, very good, thank you. And then we went back to
Piano.
all right. So if you take Winter Wonderland, there's 3 spots that I said make the changes. Now, if you did it in that order, you could do that. If you said, I want to start with the guitar first and then go to, that's okay. Just make some changes, simple changes. But I think what makes the song for me enjoyable is the speed in which it's being played at. The tempo is only 115. Just as nice and smooth and it's kind of easy to play too. All right. And so if you have the music in front of you, I played it again and I kept the same sound. All right. And then when I made the change in the part where it goes, okay. So there was an asterisk right around there. You can switch to the trumpet or the guitar. I have my setups to have both options, which I'll get to, but I switched to back to the piano. All right, just some nice, pleasant changes. Jazz guitar, just one that says jazz guitar. There are a lot of guitars. There's a jazz guitar 1, there's a jazz guitar 2, there's electric guitar. I just chose the very first jazz guitar I could find. All right. And I said that because someone asked what guitar. So I have to remember when you guys ask a question, they don't hear it. All right. Now, let's talk about the next 3 setups on the page. Are you ready?
Ready.
Get set. Here we go. All right. Oh my gosh, I went back to the jazz guitar, Robert? Yes, I did. That's why I put an alternate trumpet in there if you want to change the sound. And the reason why I did it this way is because not everybody has, if they have a smaller model, I wanted you to go back and have the ability to use whatever it is I'm teaching today. Number 5, trombone. Now, if you have it, I would find if you have a sound called the Tommy trombone, I like that one as a good one. Tommy like Tommy Dorsey. That's a nice one. And there's also one on some of the models called trombone slide NT. SLIDE, like a trombone. Now, for those of you who go through the organ and look for the sounds, if you want to look for a slide trombone or a Tommy trombone or something else trombone, you have to go to the T's for the trombone, and then you go to the list of all the trombones, and then they're in there. So you go to trombone, and then you go through all the trombones, and then they list them. There's one called slide NT. And just a little history for you, not that it'll matter after today, but I'll feel like you're leaving here with a wealth of knowledge. Back in the early 90s, there was a series of organs called the NT, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, series. They were the flagship models back in 1990 through 1995, okay? And that was during the analog days. So a piano wasn't a piano, but it sounded pretty close to it. The clarinet wasn't actual clarinet, but it sounded really close. And then some of the sounds, like banjo, there were some that, it was okay. It was pretty groundbreaking. The trombone, everybody fell in love with that trombone sound. It was a really neat sound. And then the next series of organs, the LX that came out, they took it away. And they put an actual trombone that was recorded. And a lot of people complained. And then eventually they put it back on one of the organs. They pull that sound. And it sounds like this. All right. Now here is a normal trombone. Now here's the slide trombone. Are you ready? Here we go. It's a little smoother too. It's not an actual real trombone. It was an analog sound that they made to sound like a trombone, but it sounded so good on that organ. The other thing about that trombone, if you're using it, side note, has nothing to do with the song today, but if you change the octave on it, have you ever had a trumpet sound and you thought, oh, that's too high for my ears? Take this slide trombone, bring it up an octave, or play it up an octave. And you get the range of the trombone, but it's not ear piercing. It's still got a little bit of that smooth sound to it. No extra charge for that tip, folks. No extra charge. It depends on your ears, but that trombone is an analog trombone. It's not a real trombone.
Can you repeat the
sounds like
question,
it.
please?
What's that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
She just said it sounded like another instrument. And I said, no, it's
Trumpet.
all right. Now, I'm getting caught up on the trombone because I love that trombone sound. Now, number 6, full organ or jazz organ and combine with strings. And if you can, add the trombone with it. So all 3 of those together. All right. I'm going to leave that up there for a second, and then I'm going to come back around and then kind of demonstrate the sound. Full organ sound or jazz organ combined with strings, and I didn't write it on there, but if you want to, if you can, combine it with the trombone. So, jazz organ, full organ, jazz organ, or jazz organ, pick one or the other, and combine it with strings. So here's the setup that you heard with the piano. All right, now here's a jazz guitar. I'm just gonna switch over to the jazz. I'm playing on the smaller model here. So far, so good. Now back to the piano. All right. Now the next sound was, help me out here. What was, back to the jazz guitar, right? Okay, so you can do that. Okay. And then I said trombone. Okay. Here we go. And it happens to be the Tommy trombone right now. Now, if I bring it up an octave, you get a little bit of a trumpet effect. Trombones and trumpet, if you listen to the 2 sounds, they may sound different in nature, but one thing that everybody knows is the trombone is typically an octave lower than the sound of the trumpet. So if you put on a trombone sound and you play it up an octave, you'll get a trumpet effect, if you will. I wouldn't say it's going to sound exactly like a trumpet, but it's almost like creating your own trumpet effect. So a lot of times back in the early days in that series with that slide trombone, a lot of us didn't like the trumpet sound that it had. So what we commonly did is we took the trombone, slide trombone, and then played it up an octave. Or we transposed the organ up a little and played it up. And it sounded like a bright trumpet sound, but it didn't pierce the ears. It was kind of interesting. So here we go. Now that's an organ sound with some strings, and I kept the trombone on. Now, I have 3 organs hooked up here, but that one sounds really soft. And the reason is because it's going through the headphone jack. What happens when you put headphones on? Cuts out the sound of the organ, because that's the only jack that and so that's why it sounds soft. Now, over there, they're hearing it like it's full sound. So same thing over here. And I got my 2 sounds. There's my jazz guitar. And you go back and forth. Now when I get to the trombone, organ and some strings. Etc., etc., etc. Okay? Yeah, I got it a little bit too loud. I was like going back and forth on trying to set up the volumes for all 3 of these. But if I turn it down, it'll goof up there. Okay. Now, pay very close attention, because I'm going to give you the next page, which is going to be very similar. But this is for those of you who have the up and lower keyboard capabilities, and you have things like Genie and Orchestra Plus. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm going to put them all up on the screen, and I'm going to go through it so you have a chance to write it down. And don't forget, I'm going to send what you're going to see on the screen too, okay?
We couldn't hear you, Robert. Whatever you said.
They just asked a question about getting a copy of it, and I told them that I
Tell
would
them
get it.
no. Tell them no.
No? She said no. We'll find a way for everybody to get it one way or the other. Okay, so here's the second page that you have that was blank, and it was written for the bigger organs, okay? But you'll see some similarities here. I'm going to try to leave this so it's full screen. Okay, let's leave it right there. Now, before you start writing stuff down, let me just tell you some things first. You'll notice that in red, you notice the sounds in red are very similar to what I told you on the first handout. Okay? The difference is on the models that have the larger models, the people that have the larger models, I did some things with, you'll look at the Orchestra Plus. You'll notice I did things with drum variations and alter styles. So on the first setup, if you have your second blank page there, I would write this up on the screen. I'm going to leave that up, and I'm going to play it in the background so you could hear it, because you already heard it a few times, but I'm going to keep it up there while I'm talking and demonstrating. So in the first setup, you'll also notice at the very top, you see right here, it says, you have that on your notes, memory off if possible, if you have the ability to do that. Here's why. Here's my first setup. You don't have to see it, but you can hear it. You could probably see me in the little screen there, but Listen to the chord sound. It's going to be soft. You can kind of hear it. I'm alternating the chord. Let me turn off the screen share just for a second. Okay? So you can kind of hear there's a little bit of a chord sound there. I don't have it very strong intentionally. I don't want that to overpower the melody. But the reason why I do it is so I can have some fun with it. And I think I noticed Joe did this yesterday. He had the memory chord off, the memory off. So it gives you, and I think even Joni did it, it gives you the option of controlling that left-hand sound. Now here's the cool thing. If you play it and you hold it, it sounds okay too. All right? But if you happen to hit your chord up once and down, it'll kind of give the song a little bit of different personality. Whose personality? Yours. So you can kind of play that chord as many times as you like. I have a lot of people that'll ask me, how do you play it? Different every time. Every time. Okay? So I have that effect throughout the entire song. Now let me pull that back up and I'll talk through and then you'll hear it in the background. All right. So there it is. If you're Myra Ball, do you know what she does? She takes her phone out. She just takes a picture of it. All right. So on the first setting, see if you guys could see that there. There we go. You see it? So you'll notice on the first setting, I said turn off Orchestra Plus. If you put on the Franken account, turn off Orchestra Plus. And so the background is not so busy. It's just a nice smooth jazz guitar sound. Hear it? Now if I put on the Orchestra Plus, this is what you get. Okay? That's important, but it's not important right now. So I wanted to kind of start off smooth. You'll also notice on the lower right, I have muted trumpet. Did I do it a lot? No. Did I occasionally do it? Yes. But it wasn't the core of the song. But I put it down there just in case. That's why I put in red the jazz guitar. Now, Cecilia, I avoided your question, relatively avoided your question for this reason, because the jazz guitar, if you have just one jazz guitar on, it sounds great. If you happen to have a jazz guitar 1 and 2, put them together. You get this real nice little effect sound. Oh, wait, let me get it. All right, here's jazz guitar 1 by itself. Here's jazz guitar 2. It's a little more hollow sounding. And if you put them both together, just a little bit different. You push the two sounds together. Orchestral 1 and orchestral 2. All right. On the lower right, as a optional, I have a plunger trumpet. Did I use it? Yes, I did. Did I use it a lot? No. Actually, when I got to this part of the song where I used the second setup, I didn't use it at all. I did it later on. Number 3. Oh, wait, go back to number 2. You'll notice that on number 2, listen to the band. Here's the way the band is playing. To me, this is significant in the song. Notice on number 2, it says drum variation on and alter style on. Now listen, here we go. Number 2, here it comes. Oh, that changed, didn't it? The drummer changed, the bass player changed the way he was playing. Now number 3, it says orchestra plus on, drum variation off, and alter style off. Now you notice the sound setups on number 1 and 2, how similar they are? I didn't want to make it too fancy there. So on this page, you'll see that a lot of the changes is in the background. Now listen. It really changes. Now, the fourth setup, look very closely at the fourth setup. If you wrote down setup number 1, you already have the fourth setup in mind. It's the exact same setup because I used it to go to a different part of the song when I played it. So number 1 and 4, if you look at them, they're exactly the same. Or I'm sorry, 2 and 4.
Oh,
I stand
okay.
corrected.
Yeah, 2 and 4, right.
That's what I said, 2 and 4. This is on the recording. I'll go back and listen and say, I told you. To myself, too. Okay. No. All right, so sorry. Number 2 and 4, you'll notice that they are exactly the same. Okay? So what happens is I kind of use that third setup to finish off whatever song I was playing. And it just changes the feel of the song, so it's like a restart. Now, number 5, altar style on. You'll notice that I put the full organ. You'll notice it says the trombone on the bottom, okay? It's in red.
Oh, yeah, slide in T.
Which means I use the bottom keyboard. However, you can do one of these. You can go back and forth. So let me play number 5. Let me go from 4 to 5. I'll shout it so you hear it, and then listen for the change and watch what I'll do. Here comes 5. I'm going to do a little fill in. But you can alternately do this on the top. Number 6, 5 and 6, by the way, are exactly the same. This is where you might want to make a notation, with the exception of what it says there. See, I just said add 8 strings, but the setup is the same. The major difference is that drum variation. Listen, here's number 5. Now listen to the band in number 6. Okay, see how it changes? The feel of the song changes in the background. All right? Now, before I go on to my next little thing for you, are there any questions?
Could you move that up so we could see number 6?
That's it.
Okay.
That's
Got
all that's in number 6. Number 5 and 6 are really the exact same setup. The only difference is I add this 8-foot strings and I turn off the drum variation. It still has a trombone on the bottom keyboard, but when I play number 6, I have the trombone actually on both keyboards. They're really the same, but this alter style and drum variation is the main change. Now you asked when I had a question here, how do I know when to play up or down? Are you talking about on the keyboard here? Okay, that's a good question. So the question is, how do I know when to play on the top here or the bottom? And I don't know if you're going to like this answer, but I know when it doesn't sound right to me. It really is. Sometimes I'll play down here and I want the guitar sound to sound low. And then sometimes I just want it to sound higher. Now, when I played this last setup with the big organ sound and the strings, it's kind of like a finale sounding ending. So a lot of times what will happen is I'll play that up here on the high range because it'll give me this kind of like, here it comes. Watch. It's like big, hey. Now, if your ears say, I don't like it, guess what? Then don't do it.
Do it.
Okay? Yes. Be the previous screen. Now, one other thing while I'm doing this, sometimes I transpose, like Joe said, I do that a lot. I transpose down a lot so I can play it up a little higher. Because that range right there is at the threshold for my liking, but it works. So sometimes what I'll say is, let me go down 2 half steps or 3 half steps. Now, I didn't put it in there because I want it to be up to your ears. I can play that entire song in these 2 ranges and my ears say, okay, but sometimes when I play this, I'll notch it down 2 half steps or 3. And then I'll play the song. So here's me transposing it down 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. And you can see that actually works for the ears. That was transposing it down 3 half steps. Now I'm going to put this back up on the screen. And I have one other thing that's kind of important. Okay, the question I just got was the transposing it from C. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say the transposing is 3 half steps from when you power up the organ. The reason is, did you notice that Winter Wonderland is an F?
Yes.
And Santa Claus is Coming to Town is in C. Now, I just heard this yesterday. I don't know if you noticed, but in Joni's music, the silver bells cosmetically looked a lot different than all the other music we've been using. Did you notice that? Here's why. When I went online to find silver bells in Easy Play, no matter what site I went to, they all came up in B flat. That's why you have a copy of it in B flat, by the way. I figured I'd just give it for the heck of it. Not many people are comfortable with that. I went, even in the Easy Play books, B flat. They're all in B flat. So I called up my good friend Marco and I said, hey, can your guy, he has a guy, that transfers music, hard music, no matter what music. I don't know how they do it. I'm sure he's got a program. And I said, can you put it in the key of C and Easy Play? And so he did. And the reason why is because Joni wanted to make it simple. So if you're playing the song in C, it could still be in the key of C. Okay. Well, I didn't ask him for the favor of putting Winter Wonderland in the key of C. So F is not that hard to play in. So I got a couple options for you. All right. Can I go to the other music now? Okay. So, all right, I'll come back to that screen in a minute. All right. So if you notice, I played the song Winter Wonderland first. Okay. Now, I'm going to give it to you a few different ways. What I did, I have 2 ways of doing this. When I play Winter Wonderland, when I get to the end of the song, right here, I'm on the F chord, right? And then it goes into C. So I do one of 2 things. I'm going to do it live right here on Zoom, let me see if I can do this. Move that down, click my edit option, hit my little text box here. It's in white. Okay, bear with me.
Oh, good.
I hear someone in the background. Hope they don't say anything bad. Okay. So you have two options. I did it both different ways, and I haven't figured out which one I like better. At the very end of the song, play this chord. F7,
Oh,
or this is or, don't do both, just do one or the other. Or, are you ready for this? Here we go.
X.
Let's see. I got to do it. Let me play it real quick. Let's see. Okay. This may look hard, but it's not. Yes, one or the other. Play no, let me finish. F sharp, G7. No. Okay, so you do, and then you hold the chord until you're ready. I prefer this one here, the F sharp to G7. Okay, hold on. I'm going to show it on the screen here, but I want to give everybody a chance to write that down. F7 or F sharp, then G7. Now, don't ask me how to play an F sharp chord. I just hit the one note. Okay, I'm just telling you that right now. All right. Okay, so at the end of the song, it ends on F, right? All right, so. Okay, now if I do just F7, while it's playing, I'll hold F7. Maybe do a fill in, switch to my next preset. So if you're playing the F, you could just, while you're playing the F, do an F7 chord. Now do yourself a favor. Don't rush it. Okay? Oh, I hear someone playing the organ in the background. Yeah, watch. I'm going to do the F7 example first. Okay? F7, here we come. Okay, now I'm going to do a fill in. Okay, did you see that? I played the F chord like I did in the song. Then, while I was holding the F chord, I went to an F7. I'm already on the F, so all I have to do is add the E flat for the F7. And while I'm holding the F7, my hand is already in this position, so now here's the F7. And just for the heck of it, I hold the fill in. And see how it kind of just nicely goes into the other key. Actually, I'm starting to like that one a little more now. I always do it the other one that I'm going to show you in a minute. You choose. It's your song. If I do it the other way, I'm on the F chord. Okay? I go F sharp G. Here we go. But you don't do the F sharp that long, or you can go, I don't know, I wouldn't go that slow. I would go then fill in. So that works nicely too. Now, if you say, I don't like that F sharp, guess what? Let's try it with the G. There's a G7. Okay. Any questions on that? Cecilia, any questions on that? No? Okay. So basically, play an F7. I guess to really simplify it even easier is I would do this. I'm going to put this in parentheses optionally, but if you do the F sharp, you just got to do it fast. It's really fast in the G. So I would do that or that. Now, one other thing. Remember earlier I told you when you hear the recording on the USB, I actually did Santa Claus is Coming to Town first. Well, that's in C going to F. Well, at the very end of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, if you decide that you want to play Santa Claus is Coming to Town first, you could do the exact same 3 setups. You could do them in reverse, however you want. If you're going to go from Santa Claus is Coming to Town to Winter Wonderland, the chord I would do is C7. Okay? Now, pay very close attention. If you're playing Winter Wonderland and you're going to ending up with Santa Claus is Coming to Town, don't end with the C7. Just end with the C. But if you're doing it, the songs in reverse, does that make sense? So watch. Everything I told you was 1, 2, 3 for Winter Wonderland, 4, 5, 6 setups for the Santa Claus. Now I'm going to play it in reverse. I'm going to do it quick. I'm not going to play the whole song, but. Okay, see? You can do it the same way. I'm going to do the chord here. C chord, C7. Now I'm going to go to the Winter Wonderland. Okay? So if you say to yourself, let me just recap that. If you're playing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Winter Wonderland first, then Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and you want a transitional chord, you can use the F7, which I think I'm starting to like better, or the G7. Okay, if you're doing the song in reverse, Santa Claus is Coming to Town first, then Winter Wonderland, you need a transitional chord. Turn that last chord into a C7 and then go into Winter Wonderland. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anybody out
Robert?
there? Yes.
I have a major question, and I'm assuming this is the way it's going. All the asterisks that you gave us, they are actually presets.
They
on
are
the-
presets.
All
And
right.
yes.
Just make it certain.
that the reason why I did that is that's where I made all the sound changes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank-
Now, remind me to come back to that point in a second after I answer this question. What's the question? Yeah, so the question she asked is basically, yes. So the question is obviously I did this as a medley. So those chords, and it is pretty important you know this. Those extra chords at the end that I'm giving you is only if you're playing these songs as a medley. Right. So if you say to yourself, you know what? I don't feel like playing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, but I want to play Winter Wonderland. Well, when you play Winter Wonderland, just play it. When you get to the end, don't do those additional chords. Just end on the chord that it ends with. Yes. Well, when she's asked about the ending, no, I wouldn't stop instantly. I would use the ending. Yeah. So if I decide that I want to play Winter Wonderland, and I said, you know, I'm not in the mood for Santa Claus coming to town. He wasn't nice to me. He was naughty. He didn't bring me the gift that I wanted. You know, Santa gets on a naughty list too sometimes. So I play Winter Wonderland. I get to the end of the song of Winter Wonderland. I don't add that transitional chord. I just end on F, but then I'll just hit the ending. That's all. Yeah. Now, exactly. Now, I said something, remind me. What did I say? What was that point? Oh, about the setups. Okay. So for those of you who are get the USB, if you have a USB organ from Prestige on up, the presets that I'm using to teach is going to be on that USB as well. Okay. I have A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 already done. You can put them anywhere in this asterisk. So you can do, no, there's 6, 3 on each song, 3 on each song. Right, so there's a total of 6. And you can use those presets anywhere. So essentially this, let's say you take the presets and you load them in, okay? And you go, now where am I going to do it? You can do this. You could say, well, for the first asterisk, I'm going to do number 2. For the second asterisk, I'm going to do number 5. For the second, third asterisk, you can use it in any order you want, okay? And I'm going to show you that in a minute, okay? So for those of you when you get the USB, if you have any one of those instruments, those presets are already programmed in there. So if you didn't want to use all your notes and you just want my presets, that'll be on that USB. Now I have another little trick for you for those of you who have those USB organs, okay? Now watch this. I mentioned this yesterday. Jerome may have to do it today in his class. Okay, now I don't know how good I can zoom in here, but let me see. I don't know how good that is. I'm gonna, oh, I don't like that. That's too close to my face. I look much better farther away. All right, I don't know if you'll see this, but Jerome was getting a little worried because he was looking for his USB for his setups for his song so he could teach it smoothly. Well, he may have found it, but if he did not, I have a recording of his song. So everybody that recorded a song, I have it on this USB, which everybody's going to get. They didn't put their presets on there. But you can still get their presets because there's 2 options on the organ, and a lot of people don't realize this. But if you have a recording from one of your staff members, I don't know if you could see it there, but I'll do my best. I'm going to say what comes up. So most people know USB, and then there's a load presets option. That's what most people do if we have presets on the organ. However, if there aren't presets on the organ, but you have somebody's recording, and you know they use their presets to record that song, you can still get their presets. That's what load song presets means. So a lot of people have seen that. That only works if you have a recording on the USB that's in that Lowry format, and you know if you play the song back, like if you play this, I'm going to play the song first. Just a couple measures. There it is. Now watch. Now I'm going to do Santa Claus Coming to Town. You'll see I did the sounds in reverse. But you'll notice A1 showed up because that was my first setup. So that's what I used. Okay? Now, if the song plays all the way through, you'll notice those presets moving. So that tells you, hey, he used his own settings to record that song. So what you could do is push USB load song presets, and any of the songs that were recorded using their presets, you can access their presets that they used. So I know some of you have fell in love with Joe's setups yesterday. Well, there they go. You can still get them, is what I'm saying. While it's playing, if it will show it, yeah. If you don't see it going and you see rhythm preset, that means they just use the setups on the organ. And then you'll know what the setups are. But if you see A1, A2 moving around, they use their own, well, as it's playing, yes, it's playing, because it's recording what we're doing. A lot of people don't know that. You'd be surprised how many years that feature's been around and not many people know that. And I know some of you probably do. So if you ever have a USB and someone and there's a recording on it, and there you hear the recording playing back, and you see this A, B, and those numbers moving around, just make a note. Oh, they have setups they're using for that. I want their setups. Load song presets. That's a little. Well, they're already on the organ then if you do that, and then you can save them on your USB. So yes, you can still get their setups. So you always have a way of getting the setups. Now, if I just put on Foxtrot or Big Band and Rhythm preset, well, guess what? It's going to show up that way, and you'll know what we use. So you can always get the setups. All right, I'm going to play. We got started a little late. I'm going to play one time through these setups, but I'm going to show you these setups are great because, and I'm not going to go in any order. These setups are great because you can play them with all sorts of other holiday tunes. Is that angle okay? I don't have to move it back. So I'll play Santa Claus is Coming to Town first this time. Then I'll throw another song, and then I'll end with another song. So you can see it. Here we go. Thank you. Well, we hope you enjoyed that class. Hope you got a lot of good information. I see the heads and the head spinning here. We ran a little bit late, so we'll get started as promptly. We got about 15-minute break here. Well, we had a 30-minute break, but I started late and we ran late. And once I get talking, I get carried away, and I like to share. So we hope you enjoyed that. Episode 3 is just around the corner. I'll come back and remind you all, so be back at least at 12:30. Even if we start a little bit late, we'll catch up by the end of the day, okay? Thank you so much, everybody.